We all know that New Mexico is in a severe state of drought. We know that water is the most important resource we have, and fossil fuels are one of the most deadly. We know that once an aquifer is gone, it's gone. We know that the Permian Basin is the #1 driver for worldwide climate change at this time. And this means that our extractive activities are harming other people and their children all over the world through climate-related emergencies, droughts, floods, severe weather events, etc. How can we possibly justify that? The technology is available for a just transition. Regressive lawmakers are unmoved. The original inhabitants of these lands are disproportionately affected by oil and gas extraction. Their sacred sites are up for desecration. How could we possibly justify that?
This produced water ruling is, to put to put it quite frankly, a boondoggle. Produced water is nothing more than toxic waste. And let's be very clear on public record. What petroleum companies are using additions to fracking water are considered trade secrets. Not only are there no scientifically verifiable methodologies for treating this toxic waste, but there can be no scientifically verifiable methodology because we don't know exactly what is in these fracking chemicals.
I've been hearing this idea of using what you guys are calling produced water, but let's be honest. It's calling it produced water is misleading at best. Um, I think that it's honestly just a lie to call it that. We know what it is. It's poisoned, contaminated water.
Expanding the use of produced water will lead to more spills and more exposure to these chemicals. We need to be removing these toxins, not opening up a new avenue for them to spread into our water and soil and ultimately into our bodies. I would like you to consider who benefits from allowing more use of these hazardous chemicals. Despite shiny language, it's clear that the oil and gas industry are the ones who stand to gain the most. And who is going to bear the costs? The public, farmers, and the workers that directly interact with the toxic chemical fluid will suffer the costs unmitigated.
I ask that we refuse to consider reusing toxic chemicals, no matter how much they're diluted, until we can have a verifiable methodology for treating this toxic waste. I request that produced water not be allowed in the state of New Mexico because it is our people, our environment, our future that is at stake.
There are no scientific standards for safety, and there is no requirement that cleanup of a spill will be paid for by the polluter. Instead, it will most likely fall on the public. We need to limit the spills instead of increasing their occurrences, which is what will happen if quote unquote produced water is used more widely.
New Mexico has always been an environmental sacrifice zone going back to the 1940s. First, they dropped a nuclear bomb on us, the Church Rock spill on the Navajo Nation. My school that I work at is only a few miles away from what's called the Mixed Waste Landfill, which is the largest nuclear landfill on the continent. My thinking here is just, you guys know better. We all know better. Water is life. It's as simple as that. And once you poison water, there's no getting it back. Once you ruin the environment, there's no getting it back. Once a species goes extinct, it's not coming back.
The answer to dealing with New Mexico's water supply needs is not to purchase experimental produced water that may or may not harm people with some of the most toxic substances on Earth. The answer is to stop using so much water for fracking and oil drilling, phase it out, prohibit new leases. It's time we move on. This is a handout to oil and gas to use public funds for this purpose, to pass it off as anything other than a handout it feels offensive and it's greenwashing. So please do not move forward with this plan yet. Go back to the drawing board, consider what's truly beneficial for New Mexicans, tribal nations, and the ecosystem.